Swish, swish, swish.
Hello, welcome back. It has been a long time coming since I have connected with you guys. But welcome to another episode of Sisters United. And before I move on, just want to let everybody know, as far as, those who have been keeping up with my videos on this channel, a lot of things have been happening, a lot of good things, a lot of prosperous things, a lot of happy things, and a lot of bad things, a lot of sad things. And we're here to cover that. We're here to talk about those things and have those discussions openly, unfiltered, and continue having those conversations with no policing of tone. Which brings us to the topic today, policing trans people, trans women of color specifically, policing our speech and policing our tones. First of all, I want to say silence. Silence is the most violent thing in the world. Whether it's silence from an advocate, whether it's silence from an ally, silence is violent. Like if you're not speaking up to the injustices and to the things that are being done and acknowledging that they are wrong, that is violent. That's not doing anything for anyone. It's not helping anybody. The only thing that keeps happening is the recycling of the bullshit, that goes on and on and on. So, that silence that's no good. If you want the truth, like, people are always trying to get us trans people to come to these seminars hosted by cisgender people. Come to this seminar or come to this space and talk about being trans and talk about being black and, like, express that, tell us. And the whole time, they're sitting there also taking down notes on, how to handle us, how to manage us. And that's the issue. You cannot manage us. If you are in a position where you are able to give us some help, give us some help without policing our tone. Don't police our tone. Don't police our experiences. Don't police how we express things. Don't police that. Let us be us. Let us be us, and that's how we can get somewhere. We speak a language. A lot of people attempt to duplicate, but they can't duplicate because they're not a trans person of color. So that's the issue. That's why a lot of people, they're not, very successful when they are, out there trying to target a specific marginalized group, but they can't speak the language, and that's why it's unsuccessful. And then they pick through for token trans people. And what I would say to my trans people, there is not a minute, a second, a day that might go by that if you have a dream, if you have a mission, go for it. Don't be afraid to go beyond the help that is being given to you. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of questioning your marginalization. Like, don't be afraid of that. It's okay to speak out about that. It's okay to speak out every single day and second and minute of what you're going through, what you're experiencing, dealing day to day with life. So we have to start acknowledging that instead of ignoring that. Don't have, a trans person of color be a part of your space, and then he or she or them or they says something that is, which you think may be out of context, but to that person it's not out of context because that's a part of their experience. Don't start, that victimized tone, that defensive tone. Don't start doing that, because that goes down the road of policing. And everyone wants us to be a part of these, spaces, and when it's not always safe for us, the majority of the time it's not safe for us. White supremacy is real. That's real. And I notice, you know, in my life, you know, when especially when people of color say the words or you know that white supremacy, people just get uncomfortable and start. People that are not awakened to the fact that it exists and that you know white people benefit from it. Blah 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 blah. You know, people try to downplay it like it's not real. It is very much real. Let me tell you how it's real. White supremacy is very much real because and I'm speaking from experience of my own experience as a trans woman of color and, you know, looking around within my community as we live up under white supremacy. So white supremacy is real because there has never been a permanent solution to marginalization. White supremacy is real because there has never been a permanent solution to marginalization. There is no way that out of all the services out there in the world, there is no way that people are not able to succeed outside of marginalization. And that is because even within that marginalization, there are people below that marginalized group. Like, for example, within the LGBTQ IA community, trans people of color are on the bottom of the barrel when it comes to marginalized communities. So even within communities, there are people that are at the bottom of the barrel and people who benefit first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, you know, from that. So, being so, and I'm a living testimony to this, and very much still marginalized, by no choice of my own, by the choices of those around me. That's why. So we have to start speaking up about that. You know, that's so real. You know what you know what I really love? You know, I love when white people speak up to other white people and have to let them know, you know, their position in this country and in this world. And those are allies. Those are real allies who are able to speak up, you know, for marginalized communities. And that's something, you know, I fully respect. I totally believe in inclusion. But what I don't believe is that those people who exude that white supremacy or the racism or, you know, the exploitation of marginalized people, they should not be included in those spaces. They should not be included in those spaces. Why are we putting them around, you know, our children, the youth that we serve, to exploit them, for them to give them fresh territory to just look over and exploit? And, you know, spread that white supremacy and those fragile feelings around, you know, people of color. So I think in all of that comes to terms with policing. You know, policing our community, telling people, oh, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't walk like that, you shouldn't talk like that, you shouldn't wear that. You know, don't police, you shouldn't be policing me. You shouldn't be policing me. If you say something to me and my body and my mind receives that in a way that I feel discriminated against, there's no way you can fight that. There's no way you can actually sit there and want to go back and forth with me, because that's a feeling, an emotion that I felt inside of my black trans body. It was something you, as not a black trans person, could not understand or feel. So when people express those experiences to you, or you say something to them, and the response back is, I didn't like that, or even if they cuss you out, that should let you know, you know, what's going on and what needs done to change that. And what needs done and is being done is black leadership. You know, is the leadership within our marginalized communities. You know, we don't need, as a black trans woman, I don't need someone of a different experience, gender, color, someone who doesn't look like me, teaching me what I should do and how I should walk and how I should talk. I mean, who are you? What would put you in the position of where you thought that was okay? So, and we have to start thinking about that policing within our communities, you know, with black trans people, with black trans women. So yeah, I just wanted to, jump back on here, update y'all, give y'all this quick video on policing. Feel free to share this video, you know, comment on how you feel about policing, you know, as a Black trans person, or allies who have seen, you know, Black trans people being ignored or shut down or told to shut up or told not to say this or say that or do this. Share those experiences. Don't be afraid. Ain't nobody gonna change your life. You know, where I am in my life right now is I'm gonna keep sharing my experiences. I'm gonna keep talking about it. I don't care what position I am. I don't care what position. If I'm experiencing it, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to be verbal about it. I'm going to act on it. I'm going to resist. I'm going to call it out. I'm going to do what I have to do to ensure that the young women and young men, after I leave this earth, are going to have some comfortability, some equality. You know, that's going to be a long time coming, especially with this current president. However, at least within my city, you know, for now, because what I'm noticing, and we're in 2017 now, what I'm noticing is that even when trans people, and I'm again focusing on trans women of color, trans people of color, even when we live in, you know, different states around the country, and we don't exactly have in the same room, having the same conversations, those who do advocacy work and those who are out there putting in the groundwork, we're essentially doing the same thing without communicating about it. So that's meaning that these things are happening around the country, globally, even, you know, so, and that's the message within itself. If you have, for example, a group of people all the way in California and a group of people all the way in Pennsylvania, and this small group of people are doing the same things, fighting for jobs for trans people of color, both fighting for jobs for trans people of color, fighting for freedoms for trans people of color, both fighting for freedoms of trans people of color, fighting against corporations that try to exploit trans people of color, fighting against corporations that try to exploit people of color. And they've never even had a conversation. They've never even heard about each other. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. That this is not only, you know, a small area thing, you know, or a local thing. This is a worldwide, countrywide situation. And one day, I'm sure one day, hopefully we can all sit down and have a conversation, you know, to, you know, come together, you know, in a broader spectrum, which would be amazing, you know, to come together to do that. So, and I hope I played it off good because I got a phone call, so I hope I smoothed that in there like that. But, yeah, so, yeah, thank y'all for watching this video. I'm about to cut it out of here. You know, just the policing of trans women needs to stop. Stop trying to take away our voices for your comfortability. Like, if you're having us a part of this, any type of space, you know, and we're speaking on our experiences, don't try to police it, you know, embrace it, you know, get to understand it, educate yourself. And even if you feel offended by something, be willing to have a conversation before, you know, making these decisions to not like somebody, or, you know, try to take someone else's speech away, you know, especially somebody at the bottom of that marginalized chain. Hear them out, listen. Y'all can see what's going on around us. We're going to be talking real in depth on our next video about exploitation and things of that nature, and how people benefit from Black and brown lives, how people benefit from Black trans women, how people benefit from Black trans men. You know, there are people out there who everybody else might look at who got the best intentions in the world, and people see that from the outside and they're like, they got the best intentions in the world. And even that person or group might have the best intentions in the world. However, they're, as much intentions as they have, it's not working, and it's becoming more violent and more violent and more violent as you keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying without resolution, with no resolution. So when a person of color or people in a position, or marginalized people come into a position or get into a position where they now have a platform, embrace that. Embrace that. Embrace that. Through thick and through thin. Embrace that. So, alright, y'all. I'm about to cut out. We'll be back with the next video. Thank y'all for keeping up with things. You know, I'm going to just be jumping on here randomly. They got the little live stuff. Again, I haven't been on Facebook or YouTube in a little bit. I'll be on my Facebook page doing a lot of my advocation and stuff. If you haven't been on my Facebook, go to Ciora Thomas for Facebook. And yeah, so yeah, keep up with her videos, you know, like her videos. Sisters PGH is truly awakening. You know, since I first started these videos, you know, years ago, it was, you know, more so a dream. Now it's like actually becoming a reality, you know, slowly but surely, and we're getting there by the grace of God. So thank y'all for being there and always listening, and I'm gonna continue being that voice whether people like it or not. So mwah.